Apexes. Your T-Rexes, your Gigas, your Trags and Chants. The biggest, strongest badasses in the entire game.
Wow.
You love to play as them,
Finally, after all these years.
but you hate to die to them. You see them everywhere, and they are always the most toxic. But why is that? Why do we have such a double standard when it comes to Apexes? Why do we have such a negative perspective of them every time we face one? Today, we are going to explore what makes them unique, why do we love/hate them so much, and how are they affecting the game as a whole. I'm Zaguer, and this is the Apex problem in the Isle. First, we need to clarify the different tiers of dinosaurs and their distinctive characteristics. Keep in mind that tiers don't define their viability or potential in combat, it merely shows their advantages and disadvantages. Starting off with the small tier. Taking up to 2 hours to grow, they are fast and agile. However, they are also vulnerable, having very small health pools and damage output. Herbivores usually utilize evasive action to escape from predators, while carnivores usually rely on bleed alone to take its prey down. This tier is composed of dinosaurs such as Utah, Gali, Dilo, and Dryo, as well as all the AI and scavengers. There are two exceptions to this, however: Maya and Pachy. Although Maya takes less than 2 hours to grow, it has almost triple the amount of HP and weight. Therefore, it is a lot tougher and stronger compared to small tier characters, so it is considered mid-tier. Pachy is the complete opposite. Despite taking more than 2 hours to grow, their stats barely have any discrepancy compared to small tier dinos. So with this in mind, it will remain in small tier. Next up is mid-tier. This is where the game diverges the most, roster-wise. It is also where the majority of dinosaurs are located. However, all of them have something in common which makes them part of this tier and not higher. They take between 2.5 to 4 hours to grow, and they have a minimum of 2000 HP/weight. But besides that, all members of the roster present in this category take vastly different approaches to combat and survivability. Some focus on pure speed like Carnosaurus, others on brute force like Ceratosaurus, tankiness in Para's case, or straight up god tier. Slightly above mid tier, there's a weird semi-apex category. These are mostly sandbox dinosaurs that are extremely outdated and their stats didn't transition correctly to modern legacy. Acro, Stego, Enki, and Theory are the ones in this category. They are between 4 to 5 hours to grow, as well as having between 4.5 to 5.4k HP and weight, with the addition of having wacky damage values. But then, they are the big boys. The Supreme, the cream of the crop, the top tier, the best of them all, the apexes of the Isle, ranging from an impressive 6k to an astonishing 12k HP and weight, taking up to 6.5 hours to grow. These dinosaurs are pure monstrosities, completely outmatching everything below them. They are on a completely different level of their own. And that is the problem. Their stats are so above and beyond anything else in the roster that every time you die to an apex, there's always that upsetting feeling of unfairness. The truth is, yes, it is unfair, and here's why. The apex problem doesn't come from a single source. It is the culmination of a multitude of smaller issues, and combined into a beautiful cocktail of utter balanced disaster that is the Apex tier. From my vast experience regarding combat, I concluded that there are 6 major aspects that contribute to the topic we are discussing today. Growth time, basic stats, bleed, bone break, hitboxes, and, to the surprise of some of you, community servers. Let's address the first 2 in conjunction, since they are so tightly connected. If we compare the average stats between tiers, we will see some shocking, yet unsurprising results. Let's use health for example. The average HP value in small tier is around 800 health, while the average mid tier has around 2900. Sounds like a massive difference, but since all small tier dinosaurs are incredibly fast and can run for a very long periods of time, it is expected that their health pools are their main disadvantage. The issues begin when we keep climbing the ladder. Jumping to the Semac Apex, which has an average of 4900-ish, quite significant, but nothing out of the ordinary. Besides, most are either rare, oh Jesus, I wonder why, or slow, so they don't impact the game significantly. But then we reach the apexes, and lo and behold, 8300 health. But Zeg, I hear you cry, they are apexes. It is expected of them to be tanky. Well, yes, my dear viewer, it is expected. However, having over 8k health is completely off the charts. We are talking about dinosaurs that get almost 3 times tankier for waiting only twice as long. And health is not even the worst stat. Let's check bite force. The average mid-tier strength is 300. The apex average is 820. And don't forget, the actual damage you deal on each attack includes weight on the equation, meaning that those 820 are actually 2460. Do you see what I'm saying? And in contrast, apexes sometimes are even faster than mid-tiers. So not only you can't fight them directly, you can escape from them either. This is atrocious balance design. This is why all methods of killing apexes involve in not being hit, because if you do, you're dead. Every time you take damage, that is a mistake. Every time you bite that Rex's ass, that is a mistake he made. And we both know how damn long mid-tiers take to kill them. You also know how long it takes them to kill you. That takes all skill and strategy away from Apex players, because they don't need to. It requires an extremely skillful small/mid-tier player to be considered a challenge, and a single mistake will kill you. Next on the list is bleed and bone break. Bleed is pretty self-explanatory. Every time you get hit by a dinosaur with the ability to bleed, you will bleed. Shocker, I guess. Every bleeder has a flat amount of bleed damage that varies from one species to another. Much like base damage, bleed's equation also adds weight. Simply put, the heavier you are in comparison to your opponent, the more bleed you will deal per bite. There's also a cap of 100 bleed damage per 3 seconds, meaning that no matter how much you bite, you won't surpass the 100 damage mark. Apexes are so much heavier than other dinosaurs in game that if the first bite didn't kill you, max bleed certainly will, and quickly. And then there's bone break, the godforsaken mechanic that everybody hates. The mechanic itself is an issue on its own, but the fact that such mechanic is only present on what is arguably the strongest apex predator in the game only emphasizes the problem even more. Leg break, for those who don't know, slows you down by 90% and decreases your turning speed by 30%. This ridiculous reduction in maneuverability heavily affects the hunt, increasing the predator's chances of success by a large amount. To apply bone break, Rex's only requirement is to hit the target. From there, there's a chance that such bite will cause bone break. The default percentage is 70. Yeah, you heard me right, which increases the lighter the target is. And since T-Rexes are the 5th heaviest dinosaur in the game, those chances are pretty damn high. A nice segue from this topic is the game's hitboxes. We all felt them.
All they do these mistakes, I don't get it. What the fuck?
Inconsistent at best, absolutely broken at worst. Hitboxes cause a lot of misfortunes to the majority of the community. Getting hit from far away, being on top of dinosaurs and not being able to hit them, being hit while tail riding someone, the list goes on. The issue is not too big of a deal when we talk about mid-tier fights. If a Carno gets unfairly hit by a Cerato, that sucks, it puts you in a disadvantage, but it's not the end of the world. However, due to what we already discussed earlier, all that combined, every time we get unfairly hit by an Apex, even if we are another Apex, it is a lot more impactful. Since their stats are so extreme, every bite matters, and the hitbox's wackiness can ruin a hunt in an instant, completely out of the player's control. Don't get me wrong, community servers are what keep the game alive, and it's where you can have the best idle experience possible. However, there's a catch. You see, servers are expensive to run, and most of the time server owners rely on the community to pay the expenses. Over the years, the soft-locked economy surged throughout most of the community servers, where players can spend real money in exchange for a specific server-exclusive currency. Players can use such currency to buy access to certain sandbox dinosaurs, or more commonly, to grow their current dino. The economy itself is a positive in my eyes. People can freely choose to skip aspects of the game they don't desire, while helping and sustaining the server. However, this has a hidden consequence. With the ability to completely skip growth cycles, players are now way more tempted to choose Apexes since their biggest drawback is off the table. As a result, the Apex population skyrockets to the point where the majority of dinosaur population is composed of Apexes. This not only makes the game stupidly unbalanced, it also promotes toxicity. With such power discrepancy between the community, harassment from Apex players become more common and extreme. The fact that most people say that Rexes are the biggest rule breakers / douchebags isn't a coincidence. It is the result of all these issues being manifested into these 5 animals. Okay, I have been ranting long enough. How do we solve this? To start, we need to find the core of the problem, which in this case would be the dinosaur stats. Apexes represent the top tier in terms of strength and power, but that power should be deserved and kept through skill and game knowledge. Right now, the only requirement to successfully grow an Apex is mere patience, and to keep it, it's just as easy. The vast majority of the roster doesn't oppose any challenge to them whatsoever, excluding extremely skillful players. In addition, their overtuned stats removes critical thinking and strategy from players' hands, and promotes lazy gameplay and toxicity in the community. But the solution is very simple. Reduce their base stats and increase the dinosaur's difficulty, in both growing and keeping it alive once fully matured. Dinosaurs like Acrocanthosaurus are a good example of a balanced Apex. Ignoring his basically non-existent HP regen, oh my god, it's so bad, his health / rate and damage output represent a much more balanced version of an Apex Predator, having a clear advantage over mid-tiers, but still requiring strategy and skill to be a successful hunter. Being an adult Apex should be a symbol of the player's knowledge, game mastery, perseverance, and management skill. Adjusting their values in order to be more on par with the rest of the roster not only would fix this issue, but also promote current less viable dinosaurs, reduce the game's toxicity, and overall make the game more engaging and fun for everyone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give me your feedback in the comments below and subscribe for more IL content. See you on the next one, everybody. Stay safe.